All right. Anyway, welcome so much. Welcome to everyone. We are so excited to have you. So the way things are going to work today is Oriana is going to do a presentation all about Kickstarter for authors. If you have questions, save those to the end, and we will do a Q&A with her at the end. Then please stick around after that. We have some giveaways that we're going to do. We have a big announcement for Crave Books. Yeah, a big announcement. And if you're not familiar with Crave Books, we are an online book marketing platform. So after the webinar, you can give us check us out at cravebooks.com. We have lots of opportunities for you to market your books. So, all right, that's enough from me. I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Oriana.
Hi.
Hello, Oriana. Thank
Hi,
you so
everyone.
much for doing this today. We're so excited.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a delight to be here.
All right, well, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take it from here.
Awesome. Okay. Hi, I'm Oriana. Carrie introduced this beautifully. I'm going to do this little talk. The chat was actually not updating for me anyway, and as soon as I share my screen, I won't be able to see it. So please feel free to put all your questions there, but unless there's something very egregious, I won't interrupt the flow of the talk, and we'll go through all the questions at the end. I'm going to do that awkward moment where I share my screen and I ask everyone if we can see it. Carrie, can you just tell me, is this good and fine?
Yes.
All right.
We can see it. There we go. When you start the slideshow, even better. All right. Thank you.
Now I can't see the chat or the Teams thing at all. So somebody holler if anything goes wrong, because all I'm seeing is my presentation.
Okay, looks good. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. So
awesome. Okay. All right. So yes, here I am. I'm Oriana Leckert. I'm the head of publishing at Kickstarter. This is my Kickstarter Publishing 101 talk. You can find me on the internet at Oriana BKLYN for Brooklyn on most social platforms. If you are getting ready to take your project live, we have a support team for that. Launch support at Kickstarter.com. You can reach out to them. And if you want to see all of the projects that are all the amazing things that are happening in Kickstarter publishing, that's Kickstarter.com/publishing. And I encourage you to go all the time and see all the beautiful projects we have. So here's a little bit about my background. I've been all over the publishing landscape. I started at Random House back before they had even absorbed Penguin. I've been a news writer for Atlas Obscura, a fact checker for MTV News, editor-at-large for Hyperallergic, a matchmaker for Gotham Ghostwriters, and an assistant editor at Stone Song Press. This on the right is my book, which came out almost 10 years ago, so wild, which grew out of a long-running reporting project on underground DIY and art spaces across New York City, primarily in Brooklyn. So usually I start off these talks by kind of talking about what sets Kickstarter apart in the greater crowdfunding landscape. So some of the unique things about Kickstarter. Our mission is to bring creative projects to life. That is not a joke. That is everything that we do comes back to that mission. And we believe in it so strongly that Kickstarter reincorporated as a public benefit corporation, I think 8 or 9 years ago. I didn't know what that was before I came to work here, but it's a pretty strict legal and business charter that requires us to focus on our mission with everything we do, to consider our impact on the world and make sure that, we can't be coerced by shareholders, stockholders, investors to chase profits or do things that are going to undermine that mission, which again is just about bringing creative projects to life, seeing more creativity alive in the world. Kickstarter's funding model is all or nothing. That means if you set out to raise $5,000 and you only raise $3,000, you don't get any of the funds. People think that that's scary, but it was actually designed with the artists and creatives in mind. The idea is that over the course of your campaign, you're going to be making a lot of promises about what you're going to make, how you're going to make it, how big it'll be, how many colors, what it looks like. And if you come to the end and you don't actually have enough money to do all those things, you're in a really bad spot. So our goal is to make sure that nobody is trying to bring their creative work to life with an incomplete budget. Another thing that's really critical about Kickstarter, which we've been doing since long before it was sort of like cool or necessary, Kickstarter is in the business of giving you your audience. In this moment where social platforms are sort of, with a flick of the wrist, they've tweaked their algorithm and you've lost access to this huge network of supporters that you've built, or many, like a giant online bookseller, for example, where it's a black box of where your people are coming from and how they find you. Kickstarter is the opposite. We are about strengthening those bonds between the creator and the backer, the reader and the writer. So during the course of the campaign, you get a ton of demographic information about where your supporters are coming from, what time of day they're backing, what kind of computer or phone they're using. And then when the campaign is over, once you have successfully funded, you get everybody's email addresses, you get to ask if they want to be added to your newsletter, you get to collect additional information. So you get very, very close to the people who are the most excited to be close to you. Finally, Kickstarter's fee is 5%. That's an industry-setting standard. We've never raised our rates. Our payment processor, Stripe, takes a 3 to 4% variable based on where all the bank accounts are around the world. But if you budget 10% for fees, you'll be more than covered, and that is less than you will pay pretty much anywhere else where you might sell your books. Some quick stats about Kickstarter's publishing category. We've seen 66,000 projects launched, $361 million pledged from 3 million unique backers. We've seen really strong, steady growth since 2017. The current success rate is 56% for publishing projects, which I don't think tells the whole story. That's why I've included this second statistic. We see 25 backers as a good measure of you're reaching a little bit beyond your mom, your best friend, the folks who are basically obligated to donate to any project you might show them. So if you can reach 25 backers and beyond, if you've taken your campaign seriously, if you're marketing it well, if you've done your work, the success rate for publishing projects is 83%. It's really high. So I think that's very thrilling. Why would you do this? What are the benefits of doing a literary crowdfunding campaign? Kickstarter is a platform that's designed to tell your story. So of course that's going to be, you'll share the plot of your book, but you can also talk about who you are, what brought you to this work, what inspires you, who you're working with, what kinds of rewards you've come up with, anything you can think of that's going to help really tell the whole story of what it is that you're doing. I already talked about how Kickstarter gives you your audience, but this whole mechanism connects you really closely with those readers. They will talk to you during the campaign in the comments. You can ask them questions. You can send surveys and polls. You can talk to them about what they might want to see from you next. And through this sort of early adopter exclusive access model, you're really making them into ambassadors for your work and your sort of strongest supporters. By running a Kickstarter, you'll be building awareness of your work. You're sort of shouting from the rooftops to both the audience that you have and the audience that you want. So it's a great excuse to get some press, go on the podcast circuit, get on people's YouTube channels, Instagram lives, things like that. You're really creating much more awareness of the work that you're doing. You can sell pre-orders for various legal reasons. You can't actually call them pre-orders on Kickstarter because that would imply that the books already exist. And the idea behind Kickstarter is that you're using this to bring it to life. But still, that's the way that most people frame their publishing campaigns. It helps you set appropriate print runs, understand what your audience size looks like, who's interested. And you can also use the rewards to sell through your backlist titles in individual or bundles if that is, if you have enough books to do so. Kickstarter is a great place to test out an ambitious idea because, as I was saying at the beginning, if you don't have enough interest and you don't make enough money, you don't have to do the thing. So by using Kickstarter, it helps you figure out whether this is something that your audience is craving. And also with the rewards, you can really thrill people with unique items. So of course they'll be getting the book in exchange for backing a campaign, but you can also give away all sorts of things that are smaller than the book, bigger than the book, weirder, unique, cool, that really draw people into your creative orbit. And I'll talk about rewards all throughout this project. I think I have a slide at the very end that's all rewards. So I think this is really crucial to the sort of Kickstarter proposition. Just a really quick overview for how to put your campaign page together. Seems obvious, but the first thing you're going to want to do is conceive your project. What are we making? Is it a book? Is it a series? Is it recoverings of a previous set of books? Is it, a print campaign? What is the thing? Draw a box around what it is that we are making when we raise this money through the projects, and then figure out how much money you need to do that thing. There's kind of two sides to working out your funding goal on Kickstarter: what you need and what you can get. In order to figure out what you need, you're going to need to do some real homework. How big is the book? What's the trim size? What's the page count? Do you have illustrations? How many colors? All of these sorts of things. Also, how much is it going to cost to ship all of those books? Get samples from your printer, go to the post office, weigh them, make sure you really understand. And then also, if you're manufacturing additional rewards, what sorts of costs are going to be associated with those, with production, with shipping, etc. What you can get, that's going to be sort of who's in your audience. You have to make a pretty honest assessment of who your people are and what percentage of them you think are likely to support the work if you bring it out in this way. And so finding that match between, you know, the amount of money you'd like to get and the amount of money that's really possible for you to achieve based on your audience, that's going to be how you figure out the sweet spot for your funding goal. Most campaigns have a project video. You don't have to if this is the thing that is keeping you off the platform. If that's just a bridge too far for you, plenty of campaigns do very well without having a video, but it is the kind of thing we see a preference for. If you're going to make one, keep it short, bright, and compelling. Our data shows that about 50% of users stop watching after the first minute, and almost everybody else is gone after minute 2. So do not spend a bunch of time and resources on a 15-minute, you know, high production value sort of video. A direct-to-camera address, a teaser is really all you need. Your project page can be as short and sweet or long and delightful as you'd like it to be. You can set it up into sections. We have a sidebar table of contents to help people scroll around on the page. And like I said, talk about everything you can around your project and what's going to make people really excited to be part of this creative journey. And then finally, you're going to imagine your creative rewards. So figuring out what you're going to give people, whether that's physical things like postcards, stickers, enamel pins, tarot decks, coloring pages, whether that's less tangible items, that could be ebooks, digital art, you could do consultations, you could do launch party, you could do all kinds of things. And like I said, I will keep talking about those, but figuring all of those out, that's sort of the last step. And now you've got your whole Kickstarter campaign worked out. A few common questions that I usually go over in case hopefully you haven't typed them into the chat yet. We recommend that campaigns run for about 30 days or about 4 weeks. That's sort of long enough to make sure that all the people see it maybe multiple times to make sure they're going to come over and back, but not so long that it's going to be difficult to maintain enthusiasm and excitement. The best time of year to run it is really when you are ready to do it and you think your audience is ready to receive it. I would say for first-time creators, it's a little rough to be on Kickstarter like in December. August can be quite slow, and also January, people still have a bit of a money hangover from the holidays. But other than that, really whenever you want to do it, when you have all your ducks in a row, that's the time to get it done. We recommend launching early in the day and early in the week. So like Monday, Tuesday, maybe 9 to noon in your local time. That's just when the largest number of people are online or looking at their devices. We also recommend ending later in the day, later in the week, like Thursday, Friday, afternoon to evening. The final 48 hours of your campaign tend to be really, really strong. So you don't want that to hit like on a Sunday afternoon when people are at the park, at the pool, just not really paying attention. You can edit everything about your project page up to and after you have launched it, except once you are live, you cannot change your funding amount, your end date and time, and any reward that has backers. If you realize later that you've made a typo and there is something in a reward box that just needs to be corrected, our support team can help you do that. But once someone is backed for a reward, that's considered locked. And you receive your funds 2 weeks after the campaign ends. The way that money runs on Kickstarter, when during the campaign, no money actually changes hands. Somebody pledges to your project, Stripe just confirms that they are who they say they are, and they have that much money in their account. So it's not until after the project closes that Stripe has that 2-week grace period to go pull all that money from all the different accounts. They take their fee, they send us our fee, and all the rest comes to the bank account that you have associated with your project. Now I'm going to run kind of quickly through a big number of case studies just to show you some of the amazing things that have been happening here recently and hopefully get your gears turning for what you might do. This was our highest funded publishing project last year, Cassie Clare's Seasons of Shadowhunters. She raised over $1 million, 8,000 backers. She did a really marvelous campaign. I mean, Cassie brings a huge audience to this work, and she basically had a year of fulfillment with many different pieces. There was one book that had only been published serially on Tumblr that she was gathering in print for the first time. There are some new covers for some of her older projects. There's some brand new writing that's never been seen before. She also did an incredible number of awards. She had all of her regular rewards, and then each week she dropped new limited tier rewards, which were released first to her current backers, making them feel even more special for being her earliest adopters. My favorite of her reward tiers was for $300. She would write out longhand a quote from any of her books that you could get tattooed on your body, and hundreds of people backed it. So I mean, that's how you know your audience loves you. We've seen a huge uptick recently in genre fiction, particularly romance. Penny Reed's Knitting in the City is a great example, and in sci-fi and fantasy, like Will White's Cradle. Both of these folks will have a new campaign this fall. They raise tremendous money. They have really, really strong engagement with their audiences, so it's always nice to see them on the platform. And we also have seen a huge rise in special editions, also in these genre categories. You can see from these examples, people are doing these really beautiful sprayed edges, laminated dust jackets, spot gloss on the cover, all sorts of like interior design elements. Kickstarter is really the perfect place for that because you can build those effects during the course of the campaign. You can say, you know, for $5,000, we'll have hardcovers. If we get $2,000 more dollars, we get to do these fancy sprayed edges. Another 1,000, we've got your ribbon bookmarks, we've got your vinyl dust jackets, all of these different things, making sure each step of the way that you have enough money to cover all the bells and whistles that you want to make. Our highest funded nonfiction project from last year, Marcin Witchery's Shift Happens. This is an 800-page oversized coffee table book on the history of keyboards, and yet he raised $750,000. This is a great example. It's a beautiful book. Marcin had been doing this work and building this audience for over a decade, but just to show that if you have the most niche audience you can imagine, if they are extremely passionate and dedicated about the thing that you're doing, they will come out in force for your project on Kickstarter. Other nonfiction categories we tend to see a lot of software and sort of tech type guys like Rob Walling. We've had several former like Google and Meta and Twitter executives doing books about software as a service, about Bitcoin, various things like that. And books, self-help books for authors do really well. There are so many authors already on the platform. It makes sense that it would be a good vehicle to market books about writing and your writing career. Skye Warren's best-selling Author Next Door was a huge hit, $140,000. And she did, as you can see, she did a paperback, an ebook, and she did a companion workbook all in one campaign. Some more nonfictions we see a lot, memoirs, particularly health memoirs, cookbooks. Cookbooks can be excellent here because they're difficult to self-publish. They're more expensive than regular books. You really need like high quality paper. You need a lot of photography. So this one, Minu, she's a sort of Instagram famous bread baker. So this was her first ever book she did here. We see a lot of crafting books. Gathering Color is from a small publisher in Canada. They've done books on quilting, a book on yarn, and this book on foraging magical art, and also magical things of all types. We've got tarot decks, oracle decks, and all kinds of sort of like new agey, sort of woo-woo books and albums and art. There's a pretty strong community for that sort of thing on Kickstarter too. And we see a lot of projects that are authors taking their existing IP and making different kinds of things with it. Holly Black, best-selling fantasy novelist, she made this card game. The cards are beautiful. She actually sent me a deck. I should have had them for a visual aid, but they've got really lovely gilt edges, all sorts of like sparkle and gloss on the cards. And it takes, as I said, the world of her book and turns it into a really delightful card game. You can see that she did a marvelous job with that. We also see things like literary tarot decks, literary scarves, literary notebooks, and even literary chocolate bars. This is Open Book Chocolate. She's done 6 or 7 campaigns. I think she's got another one coming this fall also. I've backed it before. They are super delicious. And then I wanted to also, another category that does really well is children's books. So there's a nice case study, McKinney Martin's Zuri Rose. McKinney, she spent her career as a wedding planner and flower arranger. So this is a story, it's got a good STEM component, talking about botany and the flowers, and like has a lot of science facts, and it's aimed at young Black girls, which is not necessarily the demographic that most often gets science type books sent their way. Kickstarter is actually a really good place for all these sorts of like own voices types of projects. We see tons of stuff around different cultures and food and language. This one at the top is about seahorse dads, which is trans men who can get pregnant. So the kinds of projects that mainstream publishers have long turned up their noses at because the audiences are too small. But as I said, a small but very dedicated audience is all you need, and Kickstarter is a great way to make sure you can reach them. A few more pages of bonus materials, and then I will stop sharing and answer all of your questions. Kickstarter's been releasing a bunch of new platform features this year, and we have a lot more on the way. This is just a list. I don't need to like read the whole thing, but you can go to features.kickstarter.com, where we're doing consistent updates about each new thing we're rolling out and what it means for creators and how to take best advantage of it. I think it's really exciting to see the platform growing and changing. We've been very receptive to user feedback, so a lot of these changes have come out of things we've heard from our longtime creators, and I'm really excited to see people get to start using them. And here, as promised, is my rewards bonus material. Again, I'm not going to read every single one of these to you. That's very boring, but take a screenshot, write some down. Even if you yourself cannot teach a cooking class or make a bath bomb, you might know someone who does or who can. You might have something like that in your repertoire, or someone like that in your community. You think about what sorts of things like this will make the most sense with your project, and think about how to do them on your own. And then finally, a few helpful links. I'm going to put the publishing page. I put the publishing page here again, because if you are even a little bit Kickstarter curious, the best thing you can do is go to the site right now, find 3 campaigns and back them, even just for $1. Follow the creators out in the world. Start to get a sense of how people are running their projects. What's the tone of their story section? How often are they sending their backer updates? Which social platforms are they using? And are they getting a lot of engagement? Figure out what's working for everyone else so you can figure out how to do that for yourself. The publishing creator tips page, I curate that. It's got a number of videos of my face doing talks like this one. I've also got resources about writing a press release for your campaign, building an audience, making a budget, why you might want to get your Kickstarter book into libraries, why special editions do so well on the platform, all sorts of things there that hopefully is very helpful. And then, of course, Kickstarter's Creator Handbook, which has tips, tricks, and resources for every step of your crowdfunding journey. That is it. That is the end of my presentation. Here again, our launch support email, my social handle, and I think if I press escape, I will not break anything. Yeah, and we can go back. Yep, back to the chat.
Thank you. That was wonderful, great information. And I'm waiting to see, oh, so we are getting some questions that come in. So this is from Chantella. Do authors with smaller audiences do well with Kickstarters, meaning they already have a lot of followers?
You mean they don't have a lot of followers?
That's what I'm, they don't. Okay, they 2 authors. All right.
Yes, if the question is, can an author who doesn't have a massive, who's not Cassie Clare or Holly Black or Will White, do well on Kickstarter? Absolutely, but it also depends on how you define well. If you're an emerging author and you don't have, a major audience just yet, you probably will not raise $1 million, which is fine. You probably don't need $1 million. Make sure that you're, setting your campaign with enough ambition to make the exercise worth it, but not overreaching based on, who's in your network.
All right. Brett has one. Do campaigns that hit their funding goals sooner get a boost from the Kickstarter algorithm in terms of organic reach on Kickstarter?
Yeah, our algorithm works on attention. So a campaign that hits its goal, it's likelier to get more attention because that means that more people are backing it. But it's not about being funded or not. It's just that we see a lot of people clicking on your project. The algorithm says probably more people would like to click on this project. Let's go ahead and keep showing it to more people.
Okay, and along those lines, I noticed in a couple of your examples, you had the little projects we love badge. Can you tell us more about that and like how does one, what do you strive for to get one of those badges?
Yeah, totally. People can get really fixated on those badges. And I will say it is nice. It is helpful. It does give you a little boost in various sorts of like search results and some of the carousels around the site. But it is not the, end all be all of campaign success. I was talking about the algorithm. And so most of that stuff is populated by algorithm. The projects we love and our newsletters and our socials, those are handled. We have a curatorial team. It is people inside of Kickstarter who are looking at projects all day, trying to determine which we think are, sort of represent the best of what this platform can be. There is, there are thousands of sites live on the site, thousands of campaigns live on the site at any moment. So not all of them will get the project we love. Not all of them will make it into our various boosts. That's okay. The majority of the people who come to your campaign are going to be coming from externally. They're the people that you're bringing in or who have, seen your ads or various things like that. Most of these folks won't even know what a project we love is, let alone whether you've had it. So concentrate on making the best campaign that you can. That's going to be the most appealing to your audience. And that's going to be a much better measure of success.
Okay, great. So Kindle. So I have been covering my book series out of pocket and have 2 out of 4 completed with the 3rd in the writing stage. Am I allowed to get crowdfunded for books I've already managed to complete and finance? Do I need to add a disclaimer about that?
Yeah, I mean, if the books exist as Microsoft Word docs and you're looking to fund the cost of print production, that's totally fine. If you have already printed the books and you are trying to pay yourself back for those costs, that you can't do on Kickstarter. You could do something like new covers or a new annotated edition or something like that. But if the book exists, if it is already like for sale and done, you can't use Kickstarter to raise funds retroactively.
Okay. So you're looking for new projects. So in counting, like you had said, new covers or special editions, even though that content is still the same, how does that differ?
Because you're still bringing something new into the world. It's a new edition. It's new. Maybe you had made soft covers before. Now you're making hard. You just want to make sure it's something new that did not previously exist.
Okay. All right. Are there any basic or fundamental requirements for authors to start on Kickstarter? For example, do you have to have so many sales or a certain amount of money or a certain number of followers?
Nope. Anybody can use it at any stage in their author journey. We are not and would not gatekeep about, what makes an author or when you're ready. That's up to you to decide. You don't need to know me. You don't need to have seen one of these presentations. Anybody can run a Kickstarter for any kind of thing, so long as it falls within our rules.
Okay, so Monica wants to know how audiobooks do on Kickstarter.
Yeah, we've seen some that do tremendously well. Cory Doctorow withholds audiobook rights from Penguin Random House so that he can run Kickstarter campaigns for all of his audiobooks. He raises 6 figures every time. Of course, Cory Doctorow is Cory Doctorow. Not everybody will do quite as well as he does. Yeah, I think audiobooks can do fine. We don't, other than someone like Cory, we don't tend to see them raise as much as print editions just because it's a different and smaller audience. And there are lower associated costs. But yeah, we see audiobook campaigns doing well all the time.
All right. Brett said or asks, why should authors use Kickstarter instead of Indiegogo?
Yeah, I mean, there's a much stronger reader community on Kickstarter than on Indiegogo. Indiegogo, I think, they have really focused themselves more on like gadgets and tech type projects where we tend to see a lot more creative stuff on our platform. Kickstarter is also a public benefit corporation. We are a very progressive company, if that aligns with your values and is of interest to you. A very queer company. We do a lot of like post-campaign donations our annual post-tax donations of our annual earnings to like organizations that are working on income inequality and arts education organizations. It's really, a matter of preference. There are lots of platforms and anybody can, decide which one makes the most sense for them. I work at Kickstarter and happen to think it's the best, but I do think that there's a stronger author community here than on any of the other platforms. So if you're looking to attract an audience that's, bigger in that way, I think you'll do well here.
Great. Christy, I'll get to your question in a second. I was curious because with your examples, a lot of those seem really big. How would you define, I assume success means funding. So have you seen campaigns where somebody's asking for $200 and somebody,
Yeah.
So that was.
Yeah, totally. I think there is actually a trend of people asking for very, very low campaign goals. And I would do a word of caution on that. I think you want to make sure that you're raising enough money for this exercise to have been worth it. Running a Kickstarter is a lot of work. I talked at the beginning about like, you want, to make a budget and make sure that you like are going to raise enough funds to actually do the thing. Like if you only raise $200, that's not really enough for a hardcover print run. So all you've done is put yourself on the hook to self-fund a lot of that work, which is fine. But I would always recommend, if you don't know whether your audience will really support like the total amount that you really need to like do every bit of your print production, make sure that you're earning enough that it'll all have felt like the work was worth it when you come out the other side.
Great. All right. Christy's question is, how many projects can an author do?
Well, there's no limit eventually, but you do need to fulfill each project before you launch the next. So that does put some limitations on, how quickly you can run them. We do have a policy in publishing, comics, and I think one other category, that once you have become a creator in good standing, once you've done a number of projects that you have run and fulfilled completely, we let you have a little bit more leeway in overlapping fulfillment, largely because books have a long fulfillment timeline and it's often not the author's fault. If you're printing overseas, you're looking at weeks or months where the books are on a boat and there's really nothing you can do to speed that up. So we will give some leeway there, but our trust and safety team wants to make sure that like you can do the things you've promised, that you can actually run and fulfill these campaigns before they let you get yourself and your readers and Kickstarter in trouble by getting in over your head.
Great. All right. Any final questions? Okay. Well, one final piece of advice, Oriana, for
one final piece of advice:
authors?
back some campaigns before you go any farther. Really, it is the best way. I often say this: I'm an expert in Kickstarter because I stare at Kickstarter all day long. You too can stare at Kickstarter all day long. You can learn so many things. You will meet so many new authors. You will see so much new cool creative stuff, and you'll figure out the best practices to run your own project. So that's number one advice: back other people's projects, join the community before you wade into it on your own.
Okay, and of course now we've got a couple more. And for people who are asking, yes, the recording is available. So because the recording is available, then is there a reason to do the slides as well? I feel like we're going to do the recording. We'll have that available for everyone. Oh, this is actually a good question from Yvonne. What happens when you back a project and it ends up taking way longer to complete? Or even if you are putting one out there and it's taking longer than you anticipate?
I think most people on Kickstarter on both sides of the equation understand Kickstarter is not a store. This is not purchasing a product that already exists. There are almost certainly going to be some unexpected quirks, some delays. I think Kickstarter backers tend to be very forgiving about this sort of thing, provided that the creator is very transparent and communicative about you know, the delays and what's happening and what's gone wrong. Certainly we saw a lot of this around COVID, around, you know, all of the shipocalypse and all of those sorts of things. I mean, what happens? Ultimately, when you back a project, you are saying, I trust you to the creator. I trust you to like do this thing that you said you're going to do. And that is what you have to sort of hope that eventually they will. There's no real recourse if they don't. You just have to do your research and decide that this is somebody that you're going to put your faith in and put your money behind. I will say the likelihood of like total failure, just like bed pooping the thing, just like never happens under any circumstances in the publishing category, is very, very low. It's a little higher with like, you know, gadgets and things with these sort of like international complex manufacturing processes. The barrier to entry to make a book, although it's not nothing, is much lower than other sorts of endeavors that you might see on Kickstarter. So I would say chances are extremely good that you will get it eventually, and maybe give a little bit of grace to the creator if that's the side of the equation that you're on. Surely they did not set out to not meet your expectations, and I bet they are working as hard as they can to try to get there.
Okay, thank you. And somebody wants to know if you do consultations.
Well,
Calls.
you know, you can reach out. You can find me. There are hundreds of projects in my category, so I cannot be that involved with that many people that often. But our support team is excellent. There's a lot of people. You know, if you find me, I will try to answer your questions. I will do as best I can, and if I cannot, I will refer you to somebody else at the company who hopefully can help you better.
Great. And the website is amazing with tutorials and videos and blogs. So be sure to go visit and to dig into the Kickstarter website. There's so much helpful information there. All right. Well, we are going to wrap this up. So thank you so much for being here. And everybody else, hang tight a minute. We do have an announcement and I have some giveaways. So don't go anywhere, but I want to let Oriana get back to her day there. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. This is a total delight. And thank you for all the really good questions. I hope to see you all on Kickstarter.
Thank you. Okay. So hopefully my camera's there and hopefully not blurry. So I want to do what I'm going to give away one shirt. Then I'm going to give you this amazing announcement that we have with Brave Books. And then we've got a really big giveaway for one lucky person. So we've got these t-shirts. So it says there are two kinds of people in this world, people who use bookmarks and monsters. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to do a random number generator. Hopefully that'll work because everybody is here. So it's not sharing my screen. Okay. All right. 78. So I have you all in the spreadsheet is how this is working. Is Marcia, are you here? Marcia? Marcia. Okay. All right, Marcia, if you're here, let me know. If not, I'll pick somebody else in just a second. But what I want to do is show you what Crave Books is launching like today. This all it all came together beautifully. So I'm going to share my screen and my entire screen. I have so many windows. Brett, be prepared. I've got a lot of stuff open here. I will cover it all up. So on cravebooks.com, we have our smart promotion page. So if you're not familiar with it, please go check it out. We have lots of great promotions that you can use to help get more readers and sales for your books. But right here at the top is our brand new Kickstarter book promotion. Because if you have run a Kickstarter before, you know that it can be difficult to reach new readers outside of your list and your community. So we wanted to provide something for you to be able to reach out to new readers. And what will happen is when you sign up for this promotion, these will get emailed to certain readers. We're building up a big list for this, so it will get emailed out to new readers. It's not going to look like this when it goes to them. It will show your image. You will be able to put a description and highlight some of the rewards, and then a link so that the readers can click on that and visit your Kickstarter page. So it can be when it's in pre-order, it can be when it's live. I think a good time to use it would be in that middle, because like when you first roll one out, there's a lot of attention. Then in the middle, it kind of slows down a little bit. So that would be in my opinion, the perfect time to do that. So you can see you just add, some basic information, the link, cover image. The size is basically the same image that you would put in your Kickstarter campaign. You get to do a description, and then you can highlight up to 3 rewards. So you put the name and then a description. And then our hope is that gets people excited enough to want to click on the link and go visit your campaign. And then in addition, you can add these Facebook boosts, and we will take care of getting that out on Facebook for you. So you don't have to do anything additional for that. And right now, we just rolled it out, so we're doing $49 for this promotion. This is a limited time price, so take advantage of that early if you've got a Kickstarter going. So anyway, I'm so excited about this. I really am. All right. I just want to know, are there any questions on that? Anything on our promotion? And if not, and if you have questions in the future, you can always reach out to me, Carrie@cravebooks.com. And then we have Brett, and then Carrie Bergeron is our co-founder. So we have a lot of people that can help you with questions.